think a lot of the businesses here, if I can share, would probably be in transport and retail because those are the two recent companies I've been with. Initially, as far back as a year ago, they just wanted to sit and watch and see things happening because they didn't see the revenue coming in. And frankly, right now there's still not much revenue happening. But since a lot of players are already coming in and they're seeing a lot of their counterparts creating their own version, I think they can't just sit idly by. They're already taking a more active approach. They're already initiating, being part of it, creating their own platforms, but also using platforms that are existing, which already has bandwidth. Well, three things. Particularly for us in transport, I saw three things. Number one would be legislation. The Philippines is, I would suppose, just like many countries, there's a lot of red tape and bureaucracy. But number two, those laws were created mostly based on traditional business models. So with the advent and the speed of uptake of technology, it will take a long time before legislature can catch up with what's happening in the technology. Because as it is, technology is happening so fast. Can you imagine how the lawyers or the judges or the Supreme Court how long it would, or the Congress would take to catch up to that? It would take a lot longer. So one challenge is that the laws were made, for instance, for transport. Laws were made using hand-hailing, not ride-hailing platforms or mobile platforms. So since there's no existing law, technically, the government says if there's no law covering a particular service, you can't extend it. So in a way, it pushes the ride-hailing platforms to break the law to make it happen to a certain degree. The other would be infrastructure. We have, unfortunately, given the fact that we spend the most time on social media, the Filipinos, at the same time we have, I think, one of the slowest fixed line connections. Mobile is improving a bit, more because of the push of government and the public, but it's still an issue. The third would be more of probably the risk and the fear of the traditional businesses, the brick and mortar businesses, who are so invested in their thousands of locations nationwide that if they shift to a different business model, they lose their edge. So why should I support something like that? So I guess those three are the major stumbling blocks right now. Yeah, very good you mentioned that. In fact, as early as months back, the BSP, the Central Bank of the Philippines, the BIR, and as well as DTI, Department of Trade and Industry, have been sitting together, not only among themselves, but also inviting different industries like the banks, retailers like us, and I was lucky. I was part of, I think, 2 talks there, and they were discussing what is needed by business and government support that is needed to make things happen. The national retail payment system, it was discussed earlier in the first talk of BSP. They were supporting and pushing that forward. And I think that they're on the right track. They're listening. Although when I remember when we were talking, we met a lot of stumbling blocks. So we were saying that, hey, you have to, for instance, embrace the fact that servers don't have to be local. For us to be competitive, we might need to get Amazon or Google provided services. But right now, the requirement is just local. How can we be competitive? So they're opening up their minds to that. Alternative payment solutions. I think that's the reason they're putting this together. But if I remember right, BSP also said, Central Bank also said that it was more suggestive and recommendatory. Maybe there's an opportunity for government to push a little harder and to require the banks to play ball to make this happen faster. Otherwise, if I'm a bank and I'm being encouraged to join, but I'm already invested in brick and mortar locations, I would probably drag my feet too. So I see their point, but at the same time, it's not good for e-commerce. Yeah, I think that would be great because right now, partly because of the slow uptake uptake of revenue. I've seen the revenues and I've tried it with Primer, for instance, when I was there. We had 150 brands, but our volume for e-commerce was very slow. Partly because of the lack of support of the company. How can I support something? It's like chicken or the egg. If there's no revenue, I can't put money there. And my investments are more in brick and mortar. So I guess if somebody comes in, right now it's just practically Lazada who's investing heavily in it. Well, now indirectly, Alibaba. If somebody else comes in, number one, it would be good for competition. More competition provides a more well-rounded support for customers. I've seen it because I transact with Amazon. The only difference, the only problem is that Amazon is not linked directly to the Philippines, so it's always an issue getting the things. So I usually get my stuff when I order it through a brother-in-law of mine who has to come here, so I have to schedule it. So there's practically no logistics happening yet across the corridor. If that were to happen, if Amazon was able to come in or somebody else who's also a major player, number one, it will be a good check and balance for the likes of Lazada, because right now they're the only provider. Number two, they will have to up their game in some of the services that they're not strong in. On the other hand, the other player who's probably not as localized as Lazada, who's very keen and very adapted to the Asian market, will also have to adjust. So, like I said, a monopoly is not always, most of the time, is not good. So, with more players comes better benefits for the consumers. Better benefits and better services will mean more consumers will be eager to join because they see more variety. It covers the services that they're probably not happy with a single provider before. So it would probably be the trigger that's needed for the Philippines to make it happen. Right now, I've been a strong proponent of alternative payments and e-commerce. Unfortunately, I can't blame, like in my past company, I couldn't blame the board or the president for not investing because we really couldn't see the volume. So maybe it would take some other push to make it happen faster. I would have to say that somehow you have to chart the uncharted waters and create some disturbance to make things happen. Maybe not necessarily break the law, maybe initiate some talks and then test the waters, because otherwise it's not going to happen, because there's a lot of resistance coming from the traditional business models, be it in retail or payments. From the government, the drag would probably be because of the bureaucracy and so on and so forth. So somehow you have to be hard-headed, you have to be bullish, you have to be ready. And I guess one other strong thing would be networking and being updated with the right partners. And events like Terrapin is a very good platform for me. It's helped me a lot, which is why I don't mind helping also. So I think you get to meet the people, you get to share ideas, support each other with your equipment, resources, etc. And it will help make it happen for you. Well, I think I've compared a bit. Some of the events that I've been to are pretty much balanced. I think Seamless is a very good platform, good event conference organizer, because I see a good balance of both regional, global, as well as local participants. I also see the effort, because I helped out last year. I saw the effort that they put in. It's a lot of work, and they're very. Your team is very pushy in terms of bringing in people. Push it the right way, because you really have to put them in. Otherwise, what's the point of having the event? So I think the events that have a good combination of regional, global, and local are the best, because you share the best resources, best practice, as well as worst practice, because you see what you shouldn't follow, you see what's working in another location, but probably might not work here because, hey, it's a different culture, etc.